Hello, folks. How are you to this evening? We're a little late starting because we had some technical issues we had to sort out. So now we're on. We're live. Let me do some shout outs to the regulars that are here. I see Howard. Big up, Howard. Welcome, family. I see Davel, Mr. One Magnificent, GG Goat Galore. Welcome. Welcome back. If you're here in the chat, drop your name and where you at so we can give you a shout out. My security forces hear my voice and they start going off. Those are the little rookies, the what you call them. But welcome to another iGoat chat. There's no audio for me. I see my audio loud and clear. Tell me if you're not getting audio, maybe on your side. If everybody is hearing me, give me a thumbs up. If you're hearing me, give me a thumbs up. Okay. I had to get these dogs away from the window. I don't know what's going on out there. But as you guys know, we're on the farm. Howard says hearing me loud and clear. I'm gonna have to ask my producer to go there and chase these dogs away. I don't know what's going on. But as you guys know, we always do this from the farm, so anything can happen. Any disturbance, or we call it extra inputs from our farm family. So, Davel, maybe you want to turn up your thing because everybody else said they're hearing me. So, tonight we're going to talk about Praedial Larceny and how it's impact our sector specifically. Tonight we have Superintendent Oral Pascal. You guys have pretty sure some of you may have seen him doing different presentations around different events within our sector. He was at the Small Ruminants Association meeting. I think that's the last time I saw him do a presentation. I first met him last year sometime when a group came to visit the farm, and we struck up a conversation, and we've been in communication ever since. So we're gonna have him here tonight. As you guys remember, 2 years ago, I had the previous head of the Praedial Larceny unit on, Dr. Welch, and he came on twice actually. And he's a good friend of Cabaran. She's retired now, so I figure we get an update from Superintendent Pascal to tell us what's new with the unit and how they're planning to help the farmers. All right. So without any further delay, let me introduce the officer. Okay, sir. Are you there?
I'm here. I'm
Can
here.
you hear me? All right.
Here.
Um, how do you pronounce your name?
Pasco.
Pasco.
Yeah, so it's Pasco. So the
It's
E is
Pasco. It's not Pascal. Okay,
no, not
Pasco.
Pascal. Yeah.
So, all right. So, and you're a superintendent.
Yes, I'm a superintendent of police.
All right. So let's start with telling our iGoat family what your background is and your career, how you started, how you get to where you are now, head of the Praedial Larceny unit.
All right. So afternoon, viewers, subscribers. So as we said, my name is Oral Pascal. I'm a superintendent of police. I'm a 17-year veteran of the force, police force. I previously had experience in tax. I was actually a tax compliance officer once before joining, and I transitioned over into the police force. So I'm not new to enforcement.
You got your fan running?
Yes, I have a fan running. I
Oh,
can turn it
yeah,
off. Fine.
yeah. It's
I
blowing
can
into the
assist if I turn it
microphone.
on. You hear
Yeah.
me now?
Or
Can
turn
you
it.
hear
Yeah.
me?
That's much better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, so I'm a 17-year veteran of the force. I would have been assigned, I think, about 2021. I was assigned by the force as the JSF liaison officer to the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries. Before that, I was actually assigned in Washington, D.C. as a security attaché for Jamaica for about 4 to 5 years. So on my return, this was like another 2 years, and then I was assigned here. Apparently, this liaison thing seemed to be my career path to the
Oh,
JSF.
okay. I guess your communication skills is above the rest.
I'm not sure because we have a lot of other talented officers in the JSF. So
Mm-hmm.
they just chose me. So I decided to take on the task. So I was assigned over here the first November in the ministry, the
Yeah.
unit,
Yeah.
Pre-Loss Prevention and Coordination Unit, the 1st of November 2021.
Okay.
And of course, you would have started to see me on television and speaking about the issues. The unit. So there are two sides to Predator larceny. This is the prevention side from the ministry. So we don't go out and do. So right, most of my effort is on the prevention side through the ministry. So it's a ministry related unit, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
working as a JSF personnel to bridge that gap between the JSF and the ministry. So you'll see where I will most of my presentations are in prevention. So it's not that I don't want to do the operational stuff, but you have to remember we have 19 geographic divisions with police stations, and they are responsible for their space. So although they might put a unit in an area, it doesn't mean that it's the unit's exclusive right to do it. It just means that there's a specialized focus and attention of that unit to tackle the whole operational output. But all police officers, all station commanders must respond because this all division commanders must respond to these issues because they are police related, they are law enforcement issues.
Okay. So you're the ones you in your department. You guys come up with the prevention um, initiatives,
Yes, the
education programs, all that stuff.
yes, and not only that, there's about five aspects to the framework. So
Mm-hmm.
the ministry has a framework in total to prevent and of course control the whole predators and the effects on farmers. So there is the so we will promote the traceability and then the strategies to, for example, the traceability of animals, traceability of produce. We will see, get in feedback from the farmers to see where the loophole are, where they suspect laws are weak and so forth. And we're in the process of doing that now. We have, from day one, the ministry has been doing a lot of work around that. And so what we'll do now to strengthen some of the laws. So the Predator Prevention Act should be strengthened. The Agriculture Produce Act should be strengthened, and other pieces of legislation should be strengthened. And the time, in terms of when somebody is convicted, those we're working on them to give more larger penalties, longer sentences, and so on and so forth. So that is that side. There's the educational side, and of course we try to promote, basically empower the farmers to know what the prevention side of the business. So yes, the police will enforce, but we would like to prevent the larceny, not necessarily predator larceny alone, the larceny from occurring. Persons will, let me not fix this. Persons will say predator larceny. Yes, it's a term that we use generally for agriculture crimes, but really under predator larceny, predator larceny itself is an offense, and it's for crops only. But under the same piece of legislation, um, larceny of cattle covers larceny of goats and all of those other small ruminants. So that is where it is. So although we use the word and we're trying to fix it in law, that when we say predator larceny, it covers everything. So that is where the program is going. So we have been doing a lot of work, and hopefully um, we
Okay,
try
so
to
hold
go
on.
at the
Let's stick up
yeah,
in.
use that term first.
So you're saying on the Jamaican books,
Mhm.
Praedial Larceny only
Yes.
deals with crops
Yes, as an offense.
as an offense.
So if someone steal your goat, I can charge him for predator larceny.
What
I
do you charge
charge
them
him
with?
for larceny. I have cattle, goats, and so forth, so forth.
Okay. So
they will lose the case.
what is the penalty on the books?
It is up to about between 5 to 7 years imprisonment. I must add though, but that last year the judges there's a sentencing guideline was issued, and persons can get a copy on the Ministry of Justice website, and there is a minimum amount that is recommended. I think it's 18 months is a minimum. Because the judge, of course, always it's up to 7 years, 5 years. The judge can give 2 months, 3 months, no custodial sentence. 18 months is a minimum. 18 months is a minimum custodial. So if it's 3 years that the sentence would have been and they spend 1 year in prison, the difference would have been what? The custodial aspect. The fines, we're looking to push the fines up. So on the time it's a fine or the sentence, but the fine is low. The person gonna opt to pay the fine and do not go to prison. We want them to spend some time and spend some money. So the
Okay,
fines are going up.
so is there a larger initiative program because you're in the preventative
Yeah.
department? So is there a program being developed to litigate or mitigate larceny in livestock and agriculture? Like we know when somebody's stealing 40 goats, 50 goat one time, they're not stealing it to make a money, just to make a shot, a little money. There is somebody taking them. There
All right.
is a somebody that's buying them or processing them to hit the market.
All right. So I can answer in two ways. Currently on the books, there's a receipt book system. You have heard me speak about the receipt book system.
Yes.
So, although it might not necessarily be a prevention, but it makes it difficult. It should makes it difficult, along with the other pieces of the framework, for someone to steal a large amount of animals, get them slaughtered, and get them to market without any form of detection. It gives the police some form of leverage to stop search without a warrant. When they're traveling with these are in their possession and they can't give an account where they get it from. There's also, and there's a piece of legislation that farmers should know, and I can explain it. There's a piece of legislation that was drafted, I think it's 1983, 1984. It's called the Praedial Larceny Prevention Act.
Okay.
14 to 13 pages. You can sit and take 2 minutes and read it out. What it speaks about is the wardens. You have heard about minister Green speaks about, spoken in the past about warden and other ministers. There's a warden, but we have never really implemented the warden program properly. Now, these wardens will be the persons who will, if employed, specifically deal with um the whole patrolling and prevention and enforcement exclusively. So their job is not to do nothing else except just focus on the farmers and get it done. Of course, you have to have the numbers. And I think the ministry is looking at this internally to see how they can operationalize it. But I can't speak too much on it. But it is something that they're looking on in terms of what you have asked for. So it is not something new. It is just something that is there in law. Most of these things are there in law, but it's the implementation side of things that, of course, is lacking in terms of most of these laws. Oh, yeah, you have brought it up on the screen. What it does, it basically is a ward. It speaks about wardens, how to employ them, how to manage them. Everything is there, but we have just never really enforced any meaningful warding program in Jamaica. Agriculture warden is a very good piece of legislation. Section 12 even highlights that if someone vehicle is caught carrying animals, for example, goats or any stolen agriculture produce, and the person is convicted and sentenced over a certain time period, those things, those vehicles are the things that carry the produce can be seized and turned over to the state, just like under Proceeds of Crime Act. So it's a very poor, and that was from 1983. We're trying to see where we can make some amendments to this to include. If you look at it, you will realize that there's a schedule on it that covers certain laws. All right, so unlawful possession of property, It doesn't have AP at the moment, which is Agriculture Produce Act. So we're trying to get that hopefully in it, and some other piece of legislation. But the schedule is very is very detailed. So you would have seen where it speaks about agriculture wardens, the composition of agriculture wardens, and so on and so forth. This we think will have a great impact on the problem because these persons will be employed if the programs, of course, is operationalized to fully deal with this problem. So instead of one unit in St. Mary with 3 or 4 persons, you should, if they operationalize properly, have multiple stations where there are problems, place these persons there and they deal with exclusively because we're having a problem. Most of the complaints are that when persons report these, the police don't always follow up and follow through. So this hopefully should be one of the programs that deal with that direct complaint. So we're listening to the persons, we carry the feedback to the ministry, we discuss it, and then we try to put it in policy and operationalize a solution. So those are some of the things that we're looking at.
So when do you think this will be fully implemented?
If I sit here and I tell you I wish I knew, I think you should probably ask the more senior persons in the ministry when they think they can operationalize this program. I think there's a time frame.
In the
I'm
Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Security, National
Ministry of
Security.
Agriculture, Ministry of Agriculture. It will be a joint program between both, but I know proposals has been put on the table and there are cabinet submissions being prepared, but I can't speak too much on it because it's actually policy. I will leave policy to ministers and permanent secretaries. I'm on the operational side. I probably gave you
Okay.
too much insight.
No, we need information to keep people accountable or to feel like something is being
Yeah,
done.
yeah,
You know, like that's a problem I have in Jamaica all the time is everything happens in secrecy,
yeah.
and people don't feel like the the government or the powers that be are looking out for them. So something like this, people need to know, oh, they are working on it. So
Yeah.
then you can hold your MP accountable, hold the Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries accountable, or the whoever is in charge of it. Say question them when you see them, or say, "Oh, how's this coming along?" Like so they can it stays on their mind. If it happens in secrecy, then they can take forever to do it because nobody knows, so nobody's gonna ask about it.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
So, is there anything else on the bigger scale initiatives or educational initiatives or programs that is coming or or is happening that farmers should know about and things that they should partake in to for this for us to be safer as farmers?
All right. You have always heard persons have heard me since I've come to this unit speak about the farmers. It might be unfair also as a responsibility, just as the police, just as the legislators, just as the ministry, to try to put in as best as possible some form of security to protect their produce. It might be very expensive, but it is necessary. All right. So to think about that, you have a valuable produce here. Someone wants to steal it. And what can you do to prevent it? Yes, I agree. I don't want to chase after the ass, after the ass. Going through the gate, it's more difficult. But at some point, that is why the program, for example, you look at your farm and don't get me wrong, you would have put a lot of thought because you know there's a problem out there of theft. And you'd have put in certain systems in place to make it difficult for someone to steal. All right, or easy for to detect if the persons try to steal your produce. And you'd have put in certain investment, and that investment allow you know to know that something is being done, and if if they beat the system, at least I know the officers I can call and it gives me a lead time. I have some sounding and then we can do post investigation. But at least you'd have put some stuff in place. And the farm, not everybody can afford to do what you're doing, but at the end of the day, when you're going to invest in goats, it must, and for example, small ruminants and certain crops, it must be one of the consideration. Just like opening a shop or a wholesale downtown, you scan your environment, you know what the issues are, so you know it's a calculated risk. It's a business. What are the odds of this happening? What can I do to mitigate it? And that is why a lot of persons do these things, and without knowing, you, as far as I'm concerned, you're probably more formalized. I just use your example. So you'll put in, you look at the risk and you put in mitigating circumstances. It won't necessarily stop anything from happening, but it is lessen the chance of it affecting you negatively. So unfortunately, a lot of farmers can't afford to put it in, so they are more vulnerable than other farmers. And the type of crops and animals that you do, where you are, is important. Those carry certain inherent risks. So if you raise small ruminants in St. Catherine and those other parishes, St. Mary, for example, the risk is very high of persons trying to steal. And listen, most of the times it's not outsiders coming. Rarely. It happens, outsiders coordinate with the persons in the community and steal your produce. Rarely somebody comes from Mobay, don't know nothing about the area and come and steal your produce. It's persons inside the community coordinate with them, or and they steal to carry your produce to market. So it's unfortunate, but farming is not to protect your farm in Jamaica now, and it's not Jamaica alone, It's not Jamaica alone. The use of technology, we think, will, because technology cost is getting cheaper and cheaper. I saw this thing on YouTube where this guy that goat house did everything that he's supposed to do, just like we're saying. And the guy put up a camera. I know you can get a hunting camera, for example, low cost, 30, 40 US, bring it in. It is motion detected. It can be put in some areas where the persons can't see. So yes, they came and they stole the animals, but they came in the night and it has night vision. And when they came and stole the animals, the person's face was on the camera. So if you were to look for someone, you know who to look for to say who stole the animals. So, and it is a high tech but low cost solution to at least post theft. You can recover your stuff quickly. You can give the police relevant information, because most of the times, is we don't, if the police officers don't get information from the citizen, we can't really solve the crime. That's what
That's true.
intelligence is.
That's
It's
true.
information from you to say we saw this, or we heard this, or we saw this. And even the same information where you have a camera, somebody have a camera in the street and you plug into Jamaica Eye. We then use other information to paint a picture of what might have happened, and then of course we can get a successful prosecution. So there we
So
go.
what are the top five things you think that farmers should consider when they're setting up a security system?
All
I
right.
mean, a security program, I should say, not just
Yeah.
a security system, but security protocols for their operation.
All right. So I'm gonna deal with goat farmers because the type of crop depends. But
Yeah.
goat farmers, the number one priority I look at, especially going into a large area, know your environment. All right, you try to check the stats. So if you're a high stealing area for goats, the likelihood of you raising goats is a very strong likelihood that person will steal your goats after a certain time. So you have to know your environment. Number two, when you employ staff, you have to do your background check. You have to monitor the staff. Number three, whatever you're doing, you cannot be predictable, or even with staff or not. Number four, if you're going to goats, a goat house is probably one of the more um, conventional, safer way to go into goat production, because what it does, it stabilizes the environment, and you can put in other things around it. You can put in motion detectors, you can put in cameras, you can put in electric fencing, and you can put in a lot of apparatus around the whole business model. So those, and so on the time. So those are about four things I mentioned, and refine your processes of who have access to your farm, have access to your equipment, and know what procedures or protocols you have in place. So limiting access to where you what you do, or you do your thing, what you have on your farm is very important. You can have your prize ram walking and parading, and persons know because they're gonna come for that ram, right? So is it the correct word? I'm wondering if I'm using the correct word. I
It's a
use I use
buck. It's a
the
buck.
box.
Yeah.
You see, I know rabbit sheep. Yeah,
Ravished
yeah.
sheep. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, man, come around. Yeah,
But much of the same. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Jamaicans call them
Okay.
anything they want. So
Thank you very much.
you know what I mean. Okay, so that's one. What is another thing you think they should also have on their setup in their security protocol?
I knew about three of them still, but you said what? But I will just go for further things. Um, if for example goats, lighting or thieves don't like to be surprised. And I heard that they have something, some in the general area where they have the goat pens, they have some noise makers. So when they pass some tripwires, when they pass, and dogs are very important. So noise, let's go with the word noise. Anything that makes a noise and or alarm, different from the animals themselves. Because sometimes these goats are being stolen, they are very obedient for some reason. I don't know why.
Because we pet them. That's why.
Thank you. So don't pet them as best as you can. So having animal dogs, anything that makes noise, create a distraction. When they know that anything, in the little shiny thing, anything at all, any areas that will use to come to your animals, those are very important. Yeah, so those are very important. It can be remote tripwire. It can be some noise thing that when they pass and they hit any certain areas, it carries a sound, it carries an alarm to alarm persons, and lights, motion detection lights, solar lights in certain areas that they can't be disabled easily. Those are very important. You know, you probably don't have a light on all night, but if it's motion that they come in a certain area within, it can come out. If you have a goat house, for example, the whole electric fencing, I think you have done a good job with that, can be implemented as one more barrier, all right, to protecting the animals. You don't have to be a goat house, but a shelter where the goat is, they can put it on in the evenings and of course have a backup for it because they know they will try to disable it. So those are about three things we're looking at. I'd mentioned cameras, but there are different types of cameras. All right. You can have a live feed camera, you can have a Wi-Fi camera, but you could also have camera to capture information of when persons are coming on your farm. Hunting cameras, as I mentioned earlier, those can be very good. Some persons, and I think I'm going to mention it, say that you could probably have a firearm, but firearm is after the fact. That's normally after the fact. Normally, when persons come and know that you have a firearm, they will come armed knowing that you're gonna confront them. And most of the times they come and they know that they come more prepared than you with a bigger. They know you have a nine, they will probably come with a bigger gun than you. So that is not even a proper solution. That is for self-defense. If you're there and you're surprised, you must be able to have the ability to defend yourself. It can't be as an offensive weapon to ward off criminals, but to defend yourself and your family and your property. So that's slightly different. Um, and yeah, so those are the general, as I said before. You can say what you want to say, but those are the general. And of course, if you have a farm or you're farming stuff, don't allow areas where persons can stake out. So if you have your goats or your animals in your farm in a certain area, ensure that the surrounding area where persons can stake out and hide and monitor you, those are cleared as best as possible to give you an advantage. You can see what's happening. Listen, you can put all of these in place and they are defeated. Everything, because these criminals, you ever heard the word recce? They come and they study your systems, they study your pattern, they try to, and that is why most of these things you cannot broadcast systems that you have to protect your farm. These things must, as best as possible, limited amount of persons know what you have and know how to reach it. And of course, you can always search and look on other technologies that you can use to protect your farm. I'm going to mention this. I'm not sure if it will carry for goat farmers, but there's this thing called smart water. All right, I'm the persons have heard about it. Probably coconut farmers use it, but I think there's a way in which it can be researched and used for even animals. If they know that there's a type of time of the year when persons would like to steal their animals, what it is, when I think the companies in England, when they sell you this is a liquid, it's a non-toxic liquid. If they sell you this liquid and you put up in a certain way, so for example, suppose someone come and trigger an alarm, you could have a sprinkler or something, sprinkle this thing out. That liquid they send you a pack of liquid that only you alone, the structure of that liquid, and use ultraviolet. So they think it's water on them,
Hmm.
That liquid, and if it goes on your animals, that liquid has a DNA or whatever signature that lasts up to, I think, 6 weeks on the person. You can't wash it off. So when you wash, you think it's clear, it's still on you. So even when you're doing investigation, the police can always use a simple ultraviolet rays and then test what you have that is was given to you and what is on the person, and then that can be used as evidence in court that this person came on the
Was
property.
was there?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is there, but you have to know how to integrate this into in a whole security apparatus. But it is out there. Technologies are out there, and I don't think we're trying to look at. I think when we speak in the coconut board, because like coconuts, say if a person come and touch your place, and once they touch clothing, anything at all, once it's on their skin, you can it's still traceable. Once you swab, up to 6 weeks, still traceable. So traceability, of course, is important. But persons don't have to know about this. So if workers don't have to know about this, you just have to put in these systems in place. So I can't sit and tell you all the possible systems you can do. You have to be vigilant because at the end of the day, it comes down to affordability. Simple fencing, affordability comes down to affordability for each farmer. And the crop type determines what you actually use. So I wish I knew all of them for everybody, but
Yeah. Well, our approach here is deterrence.
thank you.
Create as many obstacles, create as many problems for them, and our hope is that they just don't bother because it's too much work. It's too many obstacles. Because I've told people if they get into the goat house, I'm defeated. I don't care what's in the goat house. I could have a 10 million cameras in there. If they get to that
Yeah.
point, I'm defeated. So
Excellent.
my objective is to prevent them from even trying.
Thank you.
If they get close, something should deter them. So it's just different levels of deterrence, whether it's the fencing, the dogs, lights, motion censored lights, signs that says, yo, there's cameras around,
Yeah.
you know, all that stuff just to prevent them from going any further. Because at the end of the day, if they get in, I'm not going to recover the animals. They
Yeah.
may get caught, but I'm still not
Yes.
going to recover the animals, unless they get caught in short order once they leave the farm. But if there's a couple days gone by, we're not getting back the animals. So I don't want them to come. I don't want them to get in. Yeah, you mentioned about the firearm. Let's talk about that, right? So should farmers legally arm themselves?
All right. So I could talk from a personal opinion, but I can tell you generally, Jamaicans, all Jamaicans, has a right to own a firearm, whether or not they will get it once the requirements are met. All right.
Okay.
It, of course, at some point, some discretion is up to the FLA, which is the authority who issues the firearm. So there come certain responsibilities in owning a firearm. Of course, there's a minimum age for owning a firearm, and there are certain requirements in the application process. I have to meet those requirements, and then the authority then, which is the FLA. Yes, thank you. The FLA basically has the right based on the circumstances. I've heard complaints that person said that when they apply for the firearm, the reason given is not to their liking, and there's an appeal process that you go through. So it's not only your background in terms of a criminal background, but you must can prove in your application that you need it, and it won't be a danger to yourself or anyone around you to protect your property. So it is there. And is this the updated Firearms Act?
Well, that's what it says,
Okay,
2022.
okay. And the regulations that goes with it. Yes, I just want to make sure. and there are certain regulations that goes with it. Um, the process is straight. What they ask for, what are the requirements of gun license in Jamaica? It's straightforward. An application form completing in handwriting of the applicant. I know a lot of persons type it, but that is what they ask for: an application form completed in the handwriting of the applicant. So you print it and you use your writing and you write for this. All right. Two passport size photographs certified of just of the piece. The JP stamp should include their registration number. You will understand why, because persons purporting to be JPs can do this. I must be traceable. All right. Proof of income, original and photocopy. So if you are employed, your bank statements. If you're a farmer, because I don't think a farmer rarely would have a government job. It happens, but apart from that, so if you have a regular job, those slips, those bank slips, and of course the your I think most institutions take up to 6 months to show their income, something from the bank to show what your to show income of some sort. Two recommendations. I know in the past persons would have come to me if you know a senior officer over a certain rank. I've written one and two in the past for persons that I know for a good while. So that is part of the process. And I suppose it's a character thing. A letter of justification for application. Why do you need this firearm? All right. And of course, the license fee receipt, original and photocopy. So you have to pay a fee. I probably can't tell you what the fee is right now, but I'm sure it's on their website. So okay, thank you, sir. You have put up what exactly what we need, which is excellent. So you see, minister of religion must be a marriage officer. So not only any little pastor, just of the peace, school principal, gazetted rank, not below the rank of deputy soap. So an assistant soap can get one, inspector can get one, not because they have khaki. They can attorney at law, a medical doctor, member of the JDF, major and above. So that's important. A member of parliament can also give you. I suppose if you choose two persons with high stature in society, who knows, it might help. You may determine, but of course, the person must know you for a period of time. It shouldn't be somebody that you just meet yesterday and ask him for, because they'll have to literally lie in the application, which is not in your best favor. And of course, the other requirements. So persons are seeing the requirements here.
Yeah.
They're very straightforward. And of course, all recommendations are to be addressed. This speaks exactly how you carry it out, because there's a specific. Remember, if you don't go by how they want their application, they can throw it out. So you can't lose the application from day one. You have to ensure that you cover everything that they say they want them to do. That's when they vet it, you're okay.
And you
Um,
also got to do fingerprinting, right?
yes, fingerprint, because they have to check your criminal record to say, hopefully, I'll leave that alone, but they'll have to check your criminal records in Jamaica. Hopefully, no criminal not getting any firearm are convicted persons. So the background, you realize the background, and I think the fee is what, $12,000 is the fee.
$12,000 it says.
Yeah, right
And
now.
you can download the form
Yes,
from the
right
site.
there. So the FLA website provide a lot of information that you can see for yourself. So you can get first-hand information. And once you're not sure about, you can call there or visit and ask them certain information that you're not sure about. So you might see it there, but you're not sure exactly if it could mean something else. My advice is to get the information first hand. All right, read on the site, and what you're not sure, you call them to clarify what information that is there. So as we said, it's a straightforward. So you're not barred from applying, but certain persons with certain background, it is you're less probably likely to pass any muster to reach at least the consideration phase.
So the
But
question I
you have a
have
right
is
once you're
if
over
you're
the age of 18. Matter,
if you're an
yeah,
upstanding legal citizen, right?
yes.
You should be able to apply and get it, right? However,
Yes, yes, sir.
it seems
Hmm.
that certain things on the application in it infers that you have to have something to protect.
Yes, yes, sir. Definitely. You'll have to have something to protect.
Shouldn't your body be enough?
I'm not. Well, I know that your life is very important, but that could be a consideration if you can justify it. I would like to
If the
protect my body.
law on the book that says, I'm just being a
No, no,
stickler
you're
here.
correct. You're correct.
If
You're
the
correct.
law on the book says all upstanding citizens of Jamaica is entitled to apply and go through the process to get a permit, I don't see why there has to be certain level of things to protect outside of your body. Like it's a self defense apparatus, right? So your life should be all you have to protect, your life and your property. So, but it seems that you gotta have something of vanity value outside of your life, in addition to your life, for this to be considered,
Or your profession,
or
your
your
profession
profession,
will
right?
dictate. Because I've seen persons who, for example, based on areas that they might have to go to protect their life, as we say, and protect property or the type of work, and it's a high risk
Yeah.
job. Um, they have applied and they have gotten through. I have some
Or
persons.
you're exposed to.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. You are exposed. I
Yeah.
remember, apart from that, your temperament and all of those things will come into play at some point because, yes, you're exposed, but your first instinct is not to stand and fight.
Yeah.
Flight should be the first instinct.
Yeah, as you say that, well, let's get into what are the responsibilities of a permit holder.
Well, I can tell you something. I
You know,
believe it's a liability.
your predecessor went into it in depth and gave us case studies and things. Like he was really good. He was really engaging on explaining, even
Mhm.
creating scenarios of where you should walk away regardless of how much it hurt you to see somebody leaving with your property.
All right.
This
Uh,
the
uh,
actual thing to do is, if your life's not in threat, is if your life's not threatened, you should walk away.
no, but I can go there. That's not a problem because those are
Yeah.
general. But what I'm going to say to you, my predecessor, the new firearm act, was not enacted when he was speaking to you.
Oh, okay.
It is
Yeah,
more
that's true.
detrimental. I was going to try to also tell you, and
Hmm.
you can probably look on those firearm act, bring it up if you can.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. I believe you're more likely to go to prison owning a legal firearm right now. All right? You're very likely to go to prison if you do not know the law and your offense is under the law. All right? So some things that you could have done in the last firearm act, you cannot do it in this one. Look at the you cannot do it in this one. If persons know that you can leave out here and you're doing something that you thought you were doing something okay and you misinterpreted the law. And it is what, 15 years?
Well, what I mean. I think it should be like that. To be
There's a
honest.
minimum, there's a minimum amount of years for a breach of the Firearm Act. Mandatory minimum. There's a lot of restrictions. Even persons you would have seen in the past have a firearm. Look at 14. Look at 14. I'm gonna give an example. So while you bring that on, let me say something to you. The point that I was on.
Yeah.
As best as possible, if there's a situation, only if you don't have a choice, you pull your firearm and you defend yourself and property to a lesser extent, but yourself. However, if you pull that firearm, ensure that you're willing to use it. Because if you pull a firearm and you're using it to I don't know, a bravado or whatever, you can go to prison.
That's true. That and
You can literally go to prison.
it should be strict in how people use the firearm because
It is.
you
The
don't
new
want
act is.
vigilante business going on
Yes.
all over the
And
place.
the least thing you do, you can be caught in a situation where unlawful possession of firearm, a very legal firearm where permit is paid up, unlawful possession of firearm, your own legal firearm where permit is paid up, you can be in a situation like that. Have you brought up some of the offenses? So
Yeah, I am
there's a
trying to
lot
find
of
it.
offenses.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. You said 14.
Yeah, look at 14. I thought you were going down.
I'm trying to look, but
Let me see if I can.
yeah,
Because I
because
think
these
I had a summary.
things, I can't read legalese.
No, I think so. I'm gonna try to see because this new one is it takes some digesting. It goes into more detail.
Hmm.
Um, you can put in Jamaica firearm.
Yeah, maybe. What is the section of it?
I'm gonna tell you. Look at 14 offenses. How many guns? Give me a second there. I'm trying to find. I think I have the thing in front. I'm trying to.
Is it the Firearm Prohibition Restrictions and Regulation Act?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. That's the same one. Trying to see where. This one is extensive, so to memorize all of this, I wish I could, but unfortunately, I can't memorize all of this. All right, now. All right. So the interpretation, we say restriction or imposition of travelers to make. There's a lot of sections. We say 14.
It's a lot of information for real.
I tell you no, man. This one goes into detail. Trust me. You have to be a proper. You have to probably bring a lawyer on to probably possession of firearm. Look at 20. No, 23. 20 and 23. Look at 20 and 23 for me. Even,
Part
yeah,
20.
yeah, yes. Even an imitation firearm is viewed under the law as a real firearm, you know. An imitation firearm is no imitation. Imitation firearm is still get the amount of years.
Wow. This is
So
crazy. But
between 20 and 5. Between 20 and 25,
hmm,
the possession and use of firearm and ammunition. So I think it's part 4, I think. I think it's part 4. But it's section 20 to 25.
okay, hold on.
Look at those parts for me. And it actually, listen, if you're going to get a firearm, I advise anyone who looking for a firearm, read this law. Because it speaks about the decision of the decision authority, the review board, transshipment, report the loss or theft of firearm. You can actually you can lose your firearm. Somebody can steal your firearm and you are charged. You are charged. Somebody come and broke in your house and stole your firearm and you are charged. And if convicted, you know the minimum.
Yeah, this is a lot of information.
So when you said that to me, I laughed at us. I was surprised. You have never read this thing.
No,
And
I've never
in
read
this
it. I've
section,
never read the act. No,
it
I've
is
never read the
something
act.
that persons, any person interested in a firearm, read it. You might read this, I can decide, say, no, what, I think I can probably try to avoid a situation as best as possible. Or hire persons with firearm to let them put themselves in jeopardy. A security company or something. Have you found any of the sections?
I am going through them right now.
Not four. Go to 20. Well, you can read some of them. You can look at some of them generally.
Hmm.
Because these are some of the offenses.
13, it says, no person shall do anything to a firearm which alters the ballistic signature. So you can't mess with the firearm that you have.
Like, yeah, yeah. Because what they can do, if you scrape the barrel, if you scrape the barrel of the firearm, because they look at the grooving, the ballistic look at the grooving when it goes to the barrel. So if you were to take something harsh and scrape the inside, it will change the ballistics, the gun barrel, or change the gun barrel.
Yeah.
When you test it, it will show that it came from a different weapon. So those are there's a lot of things that goes.
Um, I'm trying to find where it speaks on the person who owns the firearm.
I'm looking to so I can guide you a little bit. I want to find some interesting ones because there's a lot
Yeah.
of them, So I'm just skipping through to just find something interesting. When it just came out, I had all information put down, but it has been a while since I've actually perused it, and I'm trying to find most of what we discuss. 1 second. Yes. So in the meantime, what we're looking through that, it is important that even if before you actually apply for a firearm, that persons know that they have to know the laws in which does it make sense, the laws in which all right, look at 14. No person shall use or attempt to use a firearm or imitation firearm with intent to commit or to aid the commission of a felony or to resist or prevent the lawful apprehension of detention. And of course, it goes on into some level of detail. Because you say, this is a lot of legal speaking,
Yeah.
And most of the offenses here, except for persons who are unlawful possession, because a new piece of legislation, there's not a lot of case law to follow. It's
Okay.
2022. It's last year. This was brought into being. These are ones are persons who are caught in the legal possession of firearm or use discharge a firearm in a certain way that contravenes the law. Those are the more straightforward way of looking at it.
Yeah.
But those are like just like the last law. But there are some new eras where persons all right, all right. Let's look 23. I'm gonna give example 23. A person shall not discharge any firearm or ammunition within 40 yards of any public road in any public area except in the lawful protection of his or her property or the person property of some property, in the lawful shooting of a trespassing animal. So you can shoot a trespass animal based on the law based on here. Under the direction of some civil or military authority with the permission of the minister. So the minister gets some more power here. You remember this 100-yard thing that person is to speak about? You can fire your firearm within a certain time and a certain space. They are trying to put some level of restrictions on that.
Where's it?
Um,
23?
yes, 23.
23 said there shall be a chief executive officer. You sure you're
No, I
reading?
was just hold on. Oh, hold on. Hold
Or
on. I want
page 23?
Hold on. I wonder if I'm looking at the Christ. I wonder if it's a hold on 1 second here.
Guys, you got to bear with us. This document is really extensive.
I'm happy that you're saying it. So when you say what you
No,
said to
no,
me,
no, it is.
I was just
But
shaking my head and say, "Apart, you don't know this line."
no, I don't. And I'm not
Yeah,
gonna,
yeah.
I mean, but that's why we're here on I
Yes,
go
yes, to go
chat
through. Yes.
to let people know that it is an option. However, you should be educated on your responsibilities as a permit holder. And you should know where the law applies to you as a permit holder on how you can defend yourself, in what capacity you can defend yourself and defend your property. You can't be, you know, what they call it jungle justice thing in Jamaica. You can't stay in your house and see a man a broke into your goat house and decide to lick shot. Just lick shot and shoot. Your life is not threatened. And that's
Oh,
what I take
one thing I
away
want to say
from.
to you.
Go ahead.
I want to say something to you. Persons who have lived in the US or outside of Jamaica, because I have our experience with this. and they own property in Jamaica, and they're trying to get a firearm, it will be very difficult because I think you have to live in Jamaica for at least 6 months continuously in order to qualify to apply for a firearm.
Yeah.
So at the application process, they ask you, and a matter of fact, they take your passport. They take your passport and they check when last you were here and the time you spent.
Yeah, but
So
what
that
if
will
you're
never
somebody? What
prove
if
it.
what if you're somebody who has to leave on a regular basis for business, but you
But do
live
you?
here?
But where is your law for where do you live? Are you in Jamaica for more than 6 months at a given time?
Well, if your work require you to leave within that time, you can't stay here consistently for 6 months.
It's gonna be a problem. I've seen someone who occasionally come to Jamaica. They have a house right now in
Well, it's
Kingston.
not occasional. I'm talking about somebody who's spend most of their time here.
More
But
than six
however,
months
yeah,
at a time. No, more than 6 months at a time. You can justify it because your passport will say that's okay.
okay,
They shouldn't have a problem. Give me 1 second. Audience, this law is very extensive and probably I could have gotten I could have gotten some more information on some key offenses because there are a lot of offenses under this piece of legislation. And so, at the time, I tend to conflict the original one with the older one because it is so. Um, but what I can tell you, once you're convicted on this law, is 15 years to life imprisonment. 15 years to life imprisonment. So I'm not sure if someone would want to go through that if it's not necessary. So you
yeah.
must
But
rule.
I agree on some of these things. However, are they creating a deterrence for the regular citizen not to have it?
I don't think it's
Because because the way Jamaica go, people need law-abiding citizens, business people, people who are going about their business, and the amount of times that good farmers are robbed and killed, and that's not even it's not even up for debate. How many like the number of times that good farmers are robbed and killed at their own place or in the field. We're at
so.
high risk.
No, listen, sir. I agree with anyone that can get a firearm to defend their life and property to get the firearm. I will, if I had the powers, I would say go and get it they, once they, you are eligible to get
Yeah.
it. Do I say get it just because you can? I would say no. Get it if you just need it, not because you want it. It will be good to have, but what I'll also say, by getting a firearm, you put certain legal jeopardy on yourself in certain situations. And sometimes persons come just to come for that firearm. So I think the law is looking at the responsibility because a lot of firearm holders lose their firearm and it goes into the criminal underworld.
So that's why I asked the question, what are the major responsibilities of a permit holder? What should they make sure they take good care of? What is the responsible way of handling a firearm that you're permitted to have?
Well,
Because
first of all,
some out down the road and you can tell, they come out of them vehicle and you can tell them a carry. You know what I mean? But is that the responsible thing to do?
no, because if you expose or open carry a firearm, like tuck it in a waist and show persons that you have a firearm on you, it's a conceal and carry. You can find yourself in trouble with the law.
Is a permit a concealed carry permit or is it a permit to carry?
I think it is a concealed permit carry. So persons, unless you are in uniform like the JDF, JCF, then you can show the firearm, but it's a conceal and carry. Our law deals with, I don't know if there's any, I'm not sure.
There's no
I don't want to
open
speak
carry law.
definitively because I want to speak on something that I'm not sure about. We don't have an open carry law.
Okay.
All right. All right. Look at 48. So find section 48. Since you're on open carry.
Mm-hmm.
48. There's a restriction on carry firearm or ammunition in a public space. 47 and 48.
I am going see if I can get
That's 37. That's 47 and 48.
47, 48. Hold on.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a page or it's a section. I think it's a section. It speaks about, since we're on that topic, because
A person shall not carry any firearm or ammunition in any public space unless at the time when the person is carrying such firearm or ammunition. The person ammunition the person has in that person possession the appropriate firearm authorization authorizing the person to carry the firearm or ammunition in that place. A person who contravenes subsection 1 commits an offense. Where a person is unable to firearm authorization so required under subsection 1 but is able, but it doesn't say concealed.
but we're talking about open carry.
Okay.
I'm not a lawyer, but I can tell you that much. It speaks about open carry.
It says shall not carry. It doesn't
Yeah.
say open carry.
All right. Well, go ahead.
No, I'm
Let's
not
go.
saying. I'm
So it
trying to
covers everything.
dissect the meaning of these things,
Yes.
right? So,
Yes.
but if there's no open carry law, so this is
Yeah.
automatically talking about concealed.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. If there's no open carry law, then it cannot apply to an open carry. Unless you're officer of the law, you shouldn't be open carry. You
Thank
cannot.
you very much. All right. Go to the next if you want to. Yeah.
48 says, where any person carries a firearm in a public place pursuant to a firearm authorization, authorizing that person to carry the firearm in that public place, the person shall conceal the firearm and shall not intentionally expose the firearm except in the circumstances set out in section 51A, 51B, or 51C.
So that's why you read section 47 and section 48 together.
Yeah,
That restricts you from carrying the firearm, period, in public spaces, and then it also further restricts you from open carry.
yeah.
When I speak about the restrictions, that
So if you are authorized to carry a firearm in public place, which means you have a permit to carry,
yes,
that firearm should be concealed.
conceal.
Yeah. And you should not intentionally expose the firearm,
Yes, sir.
except in section 51. Let's see what 51 say. A person shall not discharge a firearm in any place except in the lawful protection of his person or property or of the person or property of some other person. That's where the man them step in and I help out people and
And,
make
and
it.
that is, and it says anywhere. So let
Yeah.
that be open. The last, I think I was looking at the last law, said 40 yards. So continue, sir.
In
And you
the
must have
lawful
circumstances.
shooting, the first one is in the lawful protection of his personal property or of the person or property of some other person. So you're entitled to help a store owner if
Well,
you're in a position to help a store owner if you're a legal carry, if the person's life is in jeopardy.
so your property and life is under the Constitution, otherwise, is one of the permittable way to discharge and use lethal force.
Okay, in the lawful shooting of a trespassing animal. I don't know what that means. The
All
lawful
right, under the
shooting of a
Trespass Act,
trespassing. Okay.
um, you can lawfully shoot. Yeah, you're under the Trespass Act. Look, if under the Trespass Act, suppose there's a wild bull, for example, comes on your property. and it's dangerous and it's charging people, and to protect life and life of others, you may put the animal down.
Okay.
But the circumstances must be there. So the animal came on the property and it's dangerous, it's untied, obviously, and it's charging and making a risk. But I don't think a little goat where can run off the property, you should be shooting.
Yeah.
Or the animal came and destroying the crops and just rampaging through, and you don't know the owner, you know the owner, but there's no way to control the animal. You can't bring the animal, subdue the animal. I think on the Trespass Act, there are some sections here. I'm not sure if it's section 27. Is it pound? It's a Trespass Act. I think section 27 shows the grounds in which you can destroy that animal. Is it the pound? I'm not sure if it's the pound act or Trespass Act, but one of those acts. Between the pound and the Trespass Act, you can destroy the animal.
Okay. And then a person two is a person who contravenes subsection 1 commits an offense.
I remember these offenses carry 15 years to life.
And number 3 is where a constable or an officer of the major organized crime and anti-corruption agency has reasonable cause to believe that a contravention of subsection 1 has occurred, is occurring, or is about to occur on any premises. That constable or officer, as the case may be, may without warrant enter the premises and seize any firearms and ammunition found there and which the constable or officer has reasonable cause to believe are being used in contravention, were used in contravention, or about to be used in a contravention of subsection 1. So this is this is enlightening, and it also gives comfort to know in what areas a permit holder can use the firearm and how they should conduct themselves in public, knowing that they have a permit to carry.
All right, before you go, look at 54, because this is germane to what we're talking about. Between 53 and 54,
Yeah.
about the duty
The
in to
the old
report loss or theft.
Yeah, the holder of a firearm authorization in respect of any firearm or ammunition that is lost or stolen shall, forthwith upon discovering the loss or theft, report the loss or theft to the police. A person who, without reasonable excuse, fails to make a report under subsection 1 commits an offense. Yo, didn't two politicians get charged for that?
Let us move on. 54.
Yo,
Listen,
it's public knowledge. Oh, I forget your officer they can't talk too
yeah,
much
I
about
try to
but me.
stay out of the, yeah, we
I'm a
just talk
regular
what we are
citizen and it was in the news.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
we're talking
I agree.
about something that is public knowledge, and it is relevant to our discussion that don't think that they won't charge you because them charge the politician them.
Yes, yes, yes.
You know what I
So,
mean?
so what I said to you, you have to be sure that you can angle the responsibility of having a firearm,
Yeah.
because it might mean that you might have to have, yes, I think if you need it, and you definitely, but it's not a want, it's not a status symbol, it is a serious thing, and based on this law, you can put yourself in legal jeopardy. Imagine you don't do anything at all and somebody come and break in your house and steal a firearm, and if you don't report it, and if you report it and it shows carelessness, you can go to prison for at least 15 years to life.
True.
You leave, some persons love leave firearm because they don't want show it up. They can't go certain place with the firearm in buildings restricted. Cause I think a courthouse and so it's restricted. And you leave the firearm in your car and they break in the car and steal the firearm. You can be charged and go to prison.
Yeah.
So it is serious. It is serious. Do you need the firearm? Yes, I need the firearm. And you have, once you apply and you get through, there's a level of responsibility as long as you own that firearm to ensure that at no point you can be charged for unlawful possession or other breaches. The concealment part is very serious also. The possession part is very serious, because you might be there and you just probably don't know, you and somebody in an argument, and you and persons will show the firearm, not pull it in or show it as a form of intimidation. That person goes to the police and report the incident, and because you show the person the firearm, you subdue them,
So
intimidate them.
yeah,
You can go to prison.
so let's so okay. You explain how this new law, this new act legislation is more intense, more restrictive, I think. But the question still comes to mind that are these restrictions for the okay, let me rephrase that. Is a good gotta suffer for the bad?
I think my personal opinion, not of the JSF or otherwise. I think, and based on what I would have seen, that legal firearm holders were losing their firearm too easily.
Okay,
They lock them up in the car, they put them carelessly down, and they're losing. And imagine you get a firearm and you just lose it. All I have to do is just report it, and nothing happens. What it does, it puts a level of responsibility, increased responsibility on the legal jeopardy. And if I lose my firearm, I put myself in serious problems. If I don't store it properly and they break in my house, or I sleep with it on my bedside and expose to everybody, and they push your hand through the window and steal the firearm, you'll have to explain in a court. If you're charged, you between you and you'll have to explain to the judge or a jury of your peers how you end up in the situation, because that firearm now goes into the criminal underworld and is used against legal, normal citizens. So
true.
the level of responsibility is heightened.
I agree. Totally agree with that. Totally agree with you on that. Um, I think when it comes to firearm, we have to be we have to be educated on the law, one, and we have to be very aware of what our responsibilities are if we're a permit holder. If you're a permit holder, you should conduct yourself accordingly, not for intimidation or status or all of that, because at the end of the day, you're putting yourself at risk, you're putting your family at risk, and you're putting your neighbors at risk. Even when I say neighbor, you could be in a store, you could be on the street, and because
Yeah.
somebody know that you're carrying and they want it, then it's a problem because they could accost you for that firearm right there in public or take you out
Yeah.
because they know you have the firearm and they want it. So I totally agree with you. Okay, let's see if we can take some questions for you because I'm sure some people have some questions.
I'll try my best. Remember, this is a new law.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Fresh.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Fresh
It's a
off the press.
brand new law, 2022 law. So take it easy and soup for me here. If you guys have any question, now's the time to shoot because we're gonna wrap this up shortly. I know there was a question on. I think you answered it about the restriction, why it seems so restrictive. But you answered that question. I got one question.
Go ahead, sir.
What is your advice to farmers who are thinking that, because the reality is good farmers especially, they're hands-on with their animals, they go out in the field with their animals, and they're more at risk. And because I think goats are easy access, easy targets, because they can be stolen easily because they don't make a lot of noise because most of them are friendly, etc. What is your advice to these farmers in the event that they're thinking about, I want to protect my life? Because now I know the man them not only just come thief the
All right.
goat, they will just
All
kill
right.
me and thief
So
the
no,
goat.
number one. Yeah, I agree. So let us start in our process. Make an assessment of the risk. What you can do to mitigate the risks that are around you first. All
Yeah.
right, to lessen the chance of someone trying to attack your place and stealing your property. So once you make that risk assessment and say, well, I still need a firearm, go through the law, read the pertinent parts, so understand the responsibility and some of the offenses that you might face, and some of the situation and some of the requirements of having that firearm. So once you understand that, you say, well, I'm willing to take the risk because I think it's worth it because it will protect my property better. Fine. So you have gone through two phases. You have protect your property a little better. You realize that you still want to go ahead. You go through the processes and you apply for the firearm. You will know all the restrictions you need to know. Now, one of the greatest thing with having a firearm, it comes with awesome responsibility. Based on the law, if you get the firearm for the wrong reasons, you will and a situation arise and ego takes over and other inhibitions take over, you can be charged for unlawful firearm, unlawful discharge, and a lot of things that will land you in jail. 15 years to life is a long time, and that's a minimum mandatory 15 years once you're convicted. It can be very expensive to get a good lawyer to try to reduce your sentence or some considerations or to defend the case to get a not guilty verdict. So you have to remember that. So when they get a firearm, put on a lawyer money. because because by the time they get draw out, a situation come and you use it and someone, a victim might say, no, they never used the right way and a report might be written and it's not that you're guilty of anything, but they test the law is a new law. To say if you
Yeah.
did something untoward, if you had some intention or something prior, motive prior. So so apart from that, you do that. But if you go through all of that, all the consideration, put on a money just in case you might have to go to court to defend a situation. Because I always say, no, if you have the firearm and it's to save your life, to defend your life, but you might have to go to court to justify defending your life. So it's not
Yeah.
that court won't come into the question any at all. It's a might that how it happened and what the witnesses are saying, because the witness might be for the victim, they might say a different story. And I've seen that a lot before and after this law. That person's come into the picture like that. So I will say, know your law, know the awesome responsibility. Protect the firearm just as you protect yourself. Because your life might depend on it, meaning prison time might depend on it.
Okay.
All
There's a
right?
here's one question. It says, in regards to the distance of shooting at a perpetrator, if the farmer shot such person from a distance more than what the law states, what happens if the perpetrator is in the goat house?
All right. And I'm happy you asked this question. The perpetrator is in the goat house. You have not identified or seen where the perpetrator has a weapon, as a gun, a firearm, because proportionality is very important. But you decide to, hey, the boy in my place, I'm gonna murder him, just for example. And you
Yeah.
decide to you take jungle justice and kill the man. No, the person never even have a toothpick on them. You can be charged with manslaughter or murder. The thing about it, if the person's in the goat house, you must stay a distance away and try to as best as possible. Because you have to assess the situation first, Because you don't know if it's one person, two person, or three or four persons. Obviously, if the person have a firearm and you see the firearm and you feel like your life, remember, you have to purchase it, your life is in danger. And if you don't shoot this person, the person will shoot you. If the person attack you with a cutlass or a weapon, and you have to defend your life, and the firearm is the only way, you couldn't escape because the person is too close. I have to discharge your weapon. You discharge your weapon, but remember, you'll have to write a statement to justify that as it was a lawful shooting.
Yeah.
Because the person,
Makes
listen, you
sense.
should remember, just like a police officer, every Jamaican have a right to life. And if you take that life, you must be able to justify that person's life. You taking that person's life.
Okay, so the
And you might
part
have
of
to go to
this,
court and
the p-
justify it.
the part of this that says protect your property.
Yeah.
If the person is on your property and stealing your property,
Yeah.
how does the gun come in play to protect your property?
If you shoot the person, it must be justified.
Yeah,
Your
but
life must be.
but the
Let me give
part
you an
of the
example.
act says to
All right.
protect
All right.
your life and
All
your
right. All
property.
right. I'm gonna say something to you. Typical manslaughter. Someone comes on your property and they're leading your goats away out of the pen. You saw the person coming out of the pen. They saw you and say, "Hey," and they run, and you decide to shoot the person in the back. Let me
Okay,
leave it
all
there.
right.
Let me
Okay,
leave it
so
there.
let's say the same scenario, but the
Yes.
person don't run. The person say, "Yo, I'm taking this buck," and he might walk out with the buck, and you say, "No, Bertrand, leave my buck.
All right.
Me
So
want
it
you to
means that
leave my buck alone, star," and him still decides that he might walk out with the buck. The law says protect yourself and your property.
all right, and I'm happy you say protect yourself. Did the person attack you?
No, but what about the property?
No, you cannot shoot the person for
So
that.
then that, but it doesn't say then the property don't come in play because it says protect yourself and your property. It doesn't say protect yourself on your property. Protect yourself and your property. So how does it come in play to protect your property? The goat is your property. The man is on
All
your
right,
property,
all right.
stealing your property.
I'm gonna say
How
something
does
to
it
you.
come in play?
I don't remember the case law, but I'm gonna use a very legal example.
Yeah,
A police go to a premises and the police see someone breaking into a shop. The
yeah.
person saw the police coming. He recognized that's a police officer. The police is armed with his firearm because he wasn't sure of what is happening. The person have two rum, which is the man's property in his hand, two expensive rum, 500,000, the most expensive rum he can, and he runs off or walks off with the rum. Would you say the police have a right to shoot the man?
No, no.
Is the same
that's a
example?
no,
It's
no.
the
It's
same
not.
thing. He
No, it's
doesn't have
not
a
the
right.
same. No, it's not the same. A buckler rum versus 300,000 goat that a man is walking out with, and you're telling him to
But I said the
leave
rum
your.
is 500,000 worth. There's a rum that costs 500,000.
Okay, all right, but it.
But what I'm trying to say
Okay,
to
so
you, say you
explain.
don't.
Okay, we're talking about the same thing. Let's, for argument's sake, we talk about the same thing. The own. This is the police. This is the police is different. I'm talking about the owner of the business, a permit holder on his property. The man come in, take up the $500,000 bottle of rum, and decide say he's going out with it. And the man confront him and say, "No, you got to put it back. I don't want you to leave with it." And they got into it and whatever. So he should just let him walk out with it. Then
No, no, no,
the part
no.
of the act that says your property don't seem to come into play
Well, I'm
because
not a. I,
it says your life and your property.
I put this way. I'm not an attorney, and I cannot debate if you can shoot a man walking away. Not what I can tell you lawfully. If you shoot someone that is not a danger to you, there's a likelihood they can be charged for manslaughter or murder. I would leave it there.
I believe
So
you.
if you want to shoot
I'm
this,
just
if you
debating. I'm
decide,
just
and
debating
no, yeah,
the
but if you decide
argument.
to shoot this man, ensure that when the police come and look at the situation, they are witnesses to say that the man was walking away, you shoot the man. Whether him talk when he want to talk, because just see the person, So the person can be charged for larceny, trespass, and all kind of things. So there's a way of the persons. If you see the person, you see exactly. You can go and write a statement, and they can apprehend this person, and you will be the witness that you saw the person coming on the property. You understand what I'm saying? This is not listen. This is not Florida, This is Jamaica.
Okay, I understand that, but I'm
Jamaica, the
still
Florida law is different.
but the law
Stand your
says
ground is Florida
no,
law. This
no,
we don't
no.
have stand your ground in Jamaica.
The law says protect yourself and your property. I just need to
But the law
understand
said the
that
man
part.
also has a
That
right to
part.
life,
That's
and there's a
yeah.
process. And if the
So he
person
could.
is
So he
caught
could
on the
leave your.
property, you
He
can
could
report and they're arrested and charged.
no, but he could leave your property He could let go the goat and walk off your property.
And then you go to the police station. You go to the police station. You report it. You give a statement. The person, you identify the person. The person arrested and charged. You go to a trial, and this person gets at least 3 years in prison.
All I understand your point. I just need clarification. I guess I need to get a lawyer on here.
Thank you very
Where
much.
does
Thank you.
the and property comes into play? How does that apply?
What?
Because if a man come in and you see him, you could have shoot him in a goat house, but you choose not to. You say, yo, me there, leave my goat. And him start walk out with your $300,000 buck. And you say, no, I do not take the buck. Leave the property. I am armed. I am here to protect my property. Leave the property. And him decides that he's walking out with the buck.
But to be honest, sir, I don't see which reason a person would say have a firearm in their hand. Come and steal the
Of
things and
course,
then walk out in the
if
city.
he knows the law, that the law say you can't shoot him.
No, the law never say you can't shoot him. If him don't attack you, if you shoot him, it will be case saying that. Hey, listen.
I'm
What I'm
trying
saying,
to understand how it
no.
works.
What I'm saying, what I am saying, and you have to listen from a lawful perspective. I am saying, if I'm a police officer and I have two witnesses that says that the guy, although they are the goat, they were walking out of the property. All right, they did not attack you. They weren't a danger to you, or they were running away. So now walk. Use the word run because they don't want to walk. They were running away with the animal and trying to beat to escape. And you aim and shoot, especially from the back. You shoot the person in the back. Even if the police do the shooting, and I am lawfully under the Constitution can take a life under certain circumstances, but I can't take a life for taking a life's sake. There's certain
No, I
circumstances.
understand that.
There's a was it? So the law is gonna ask you. You listen. I can't tell you not to shoot or shoot, but the law is gonna determine was it justifiable homicide or not.
Well,
And if somebody want to test in the court, it's fine.
the answer would be based on the law. He would not leave my property alone. After asking him several times to leave, he would not leave without taking my buck.
And so you made a decision to.
So I decide to protect my buck by taking it from him, and him end up get shot because me decide to take my buck from him.
All right. So if you make that decision, that is your decision. And when the law comes in case, I said prepare to have your lawyer money because more likely unless you write a very good statement to justify the shooting under the law. All right.
Well, the law
Because my
itself, the law clearly says and property.
well, you're looking at the property part. I'm looking at the most important thing to me right here.
The life is also important, but
No, the life is the most important one,
yeah, the
and that's the
most
part that
important,
send you to prison.
but it also says and property. It says in the lawful protection of his person or property.
All right, put it this way. I won't debate with you on that part because I am not an attorney. And what I'll tell you to do is
Yeah.
to consult an attorney and let the attorney tell you, but you won't hear say you must shoot somebody with their property from Oral Pasco. I can't tell you that much. You won't hear it from me because you might take this and quote me as part of your defense.
Yeah.
I can
No.
tell you if the person is not a danger to you, all right?
Let him go.
Although they might have your property is recoverable. When the person is shot and they are dead, the life is gone. And you have a legal case to answer to the courts for manslaughter or straight out murder.
Yeah, I agree with you. I can dispute that. And I must thank you for entertaining my back and forth debate on it. I appreciate it. I don't. There's no ill will intent. I just wanted to have the
No,
debate
that's okay.
because
That's okay. It's a legitimate question.
yeah, because it's there, and you actually gave me a good idea. I need to find a lawyer that would explain how the property part applies, and in because it actually say in the lawful protection of the of your person or property. How does the property part applies? Because obviously it's a gray area from the outside looking in. From a regular person, farmer like myself and our community here, we don't understand. Is it safe to say, guys, give me a thumbs up if it's safe to say we don't understand the property part of it? Like, if how do we protect the property if we can't stop the person from taking it? How do we protect it? Or is it just protect your life? It's that simple. Well, any other question, guys, before I let Mr. Pascal go?
Mr.
Because
Pasco. Mr.
Pascal,
Pasco.
Mr.
Pasco.
Pascal, I gotta keep remembering the correct pronunciation. And we have Mr. Henry here, who, Mr. Henry is one of our vocal contributors on iGoat Chat. And obviously, you can sense his frustration that, there's a lot of gray areas in it that need some explanation so farmers can feel comfortable making a decision on whether they should have it or not have it, you know? Because it doesn't make sense getting it thinking you can protect yourself and your property, but you end up in legal jeopardy.
That's
You
what
know,
I've just this what I've been saying all night. So yes, go ahead, but remember, it increased the responsibility and possible legal jeopardy that comes to you because you decide to go. That example you're giving is an abnormal example, but it's a good one for arguing a point about the property. So I'll
yeah,
give you that.
yeah.
Very good point to argue the property side because I'm not sure about that side. I'm sure about if you discharge a weapon and the person is killed, then if you cannot justify shooting the person or discharging the firearm, you probably matter of fact, you can be charged for unlawful possession of firearm if you use it in contravention and also for the homicide. And it's a likelihood you might get convicted say one or both.
You mean illegal use of the firearm,
Yes,
not
if you
illegal
if you
possession?
use
Yeah.
that, yeah, well, illegal use, illegal possession.
No,
That's
you
it.
legally possess it, but illegal usage of it is a different
All right.
conversation.
The law is the law is the law is funny on that side, but when you go through, you understand why I said what I said.
So, another question: when the farmer loses his animal to these perpetrators, how is it that recoverable when they just go away without being stopped by a few bullets?
Jesus Christ.
Hey, you're
Sir,
dealing with
Miss,
farmers.
listen,
You're dealing
you're
with
overly a can of
farmers.
worms, because listen, when I cover these programs, everybody just want to shoot. And I'm telling them, no, it's not so straightforward. I agree, I understand the frustration, but
Yeah.
if the person decides to, you are going to defend in your property. Let me put it this way, you're going to defend in your property, and the person decide that they're going to take it, and they're going to use force to take it. Meaning, they're going to use another gun and shoot after you, and then you have to return fire. Or you see the gun and the person, you realize they're stubborn and they're gonna steal the things, and they're determined to use it, and they have guns and they ain't gonna intimidate you. And you decide that, well, is it him or me, no? And I
That's
don't want him to leave. That situation is different from what you're saying,
that's
but
that's
I understand
plausible.
where you're going. You
Yeah.
can use force to protect in that time because the person shooting after you are intends to shoot you if you don't shoot them. You have to stop them. But so the person confronts you. You have to defend your life and property. You're
Okay.
confronted, but if they run away, you cannot. If you shoot them, if they're running away or leaving, they're not danger. They're moving away from you. Then you put yourself in legal jeopardy if you decide. So you have to decide whether or not it's worth it to discharge your firearm. It is sad, but that is how it is.
Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate you taking the time, and you have an open invitation to come back on I Go Chat and enlighten us.
And firearm.
If on no, not only fire, mostly on what initiatives you guys have
Yeah.
going on to help farmers with the Praedial
Yeah.
Larceny situation. You know what I mean? Because you know, you're out there, you know exactly what we're talking about. You know, people thief 50 goat one time. It's gotta be going somewhere,
Yeah.
and then
It's
yeah,
hard.
yeah, and then the other part is a man out in the field with them goat, and man them just come up on him. Not only them thief the goat, but them have to put two bullets in him, and it's unfair. And we need to figure out how do we responsibly educate farmers on how to protect themselves, how to protect their property, you know. And if it means that we have to keep climbing the ladder to people who can are in a position to explain the law further, you're not a lawyer, you're an officer that
Police officer.
understands
Yeah.
the law to a certain extent. But there's lawyers, I'm sure we can find one that will explain it and put it in a way that us regular people understand. Say, oh, that's how it works. You know what I mean? So we appreciate you taking the time and looking forward to your next appearance. And we want to thank you for your service and thank you for all you've done for our community at large. And just stay safe out there.
Same to you, and run away from danger, please.
Yeah, well, there's no fun in that.
I know, but preservation is number one, and then we
Yeah,
can
yeah,
do the
yeah,
things after that.
yeah,
That's what
yeah.
I'm saying.
Yes, and thank you again. All
And,
right,
and, and thank you for having me.
you're welcome
All right,
anytime.
all right, viewers.
Okay,
All right, bye bye.
bye, guys. There you have it. That was, I think, a good discussion. I think, as I always say, there's more questions than answers sometimes. Now I have to figure out the property side of this. How does that apply? And we may need a lawyer or a prosecutor or somebody to explain this to us. But we will go look for it and fish for it and find the information to help us. But you know, these laws seem to me seem to it's strict. The new law is really strict. I like the fact that it makes people more responsible as gun owners or permit holders, right? But it also seems to create some form of deterrence for a certain level of people to gain access. But education is key. If you read the act and you feel like you can manage it, then go for it. And we shared the link. I'm sure some of us downloaded or went to the website so they can see it for themselves. I will post it again so people have access to it and share it with your fellow farmers that are considering this because it's important. You know, the superintendent says every upstanding legal citizen in Jamaica has the right to apply and go through the process. I'm not saying you have the right to own one. Let me be very clear. You have the right to apply and go through the process of getting approved. So if you're interested and you think you meet the standards that's required, read the new law, and if you're comfortable with what the law says, go for it. All right. With that said, I want to thank you all for being here. Thank everyone for participating. Thanks for supporting us. And we will see you all next week. Stay safe and enjoy.